Hey there! Ready to go on a pretty wild ride? Today, we're going to take a tour of your body's very own fuel factory, the digestive system. We'll see exactly what happens to the food you eat from start to finish. So, let's get started.
Yep, we're going to follow the amazing, super long journey our food takes, starting with that very first bite all the way to, well, the end of the line. And trust me, it's a way cooler trip than you might think.
I mean, have you ever really, truly thought about it? Food goes in looking like, say, a sandwich, but somehow your body magically turns it into energy. The energy you need to run around, learn stuff, or even just breathe. So how on earth does that actually work? Well, it all comes down to one big idea: digestion. It's basically your body's super smart way of taking big pieces of food and smashing them into teeny tiny little fuel particles that can power everything. And I mean everything you do.
Now, your body is really clever. It doesn't just use one method to get all the goodies out of your food. Nope, it uses a kind of one-two punch, a physical attack and a chemical attack. So on one hand, you've got mechanical digestion. This is the muscle part, the chewing, the grinding, the stomach squeezing your food. It's basically a human blender. Then, on the other hand, you have chemical digestion. This is where your body uses special liquids, called enzymes, to completely dissolve the food into microscopic bits. You really need both to get the job done right.
And this whole journey takes place inside a really long, winding tube inside you called the gastrointestinal tract, or just the GI tract. So, how long do you think that tube really is? Just take a guess. I bet the answer will surprise you. Get this, if you could stretch it all out, it would be about 9 meters, or 30 feet long. To give you an idea, that's taller than a giraffe. And all of that is coiled up and packed perfectly right inside your body? How wild is that?
All right, so let's start our tour right at the beginning, at the main entrance. The journey officially kicks off in your mouth and then heads down a slide called the esophagus. Okay, so digestion begins the second food enters your mouth. Your teeth get to work on the mechanical part, that's the chewing, of course, and at the very same time, your saliva, or spit, starts the chemical part, using its special powers to begin dissolving starches. Then, your tongue is like a little food sculptor, rolling everything into a neat ball called a bolus, ready to be swallowed. Now, once you swallow, that food doesn't just drop into your stomach like a rock. Nope. Your esophagus uses this amazing muscular wave called peristalsis. It's a series of squeezes that push the food along. The best way to picture it? Imagine squeezing a tube of toothpaste from the bottom up to get the paste out. That's exactly what your esophagus does. After it's tripped down the esophagus, the food arrives at our next major stop, the stomach. You can think of this place as the body's heavy-duty blender. This J-shaped bag is incredibly powerful. It's got 3 different layers of muscle that churn, mash, and mix everything together. And while it's doing all that squeezing, it's also drenching the food in really strong acid and other juices. This acid bath is perfect for breaking down tougher foods like proteins in meat or cheese. So after a few hours of all that churning and dissolving, the solid food you ate is totally transformed. It's now a thick, soupy, almost oatmeal-like paste. And this stuff has a special name. It's called chyme. And it's this chyme that gets sent to the next stage of the adventure. So from the stomach, our chyme now enters what is probably the most important part of the entire system, the small intestine. This place is basically nutrient mission control. Seriously, everything that's happened so far, all that chewing and churning, was just to get ready for this very moment. It's here, in the super long winding tubes of the small intestine, that about 95% of all the good stuff, the vitamins, the minerals, the energy, is pulled out of the food and sent into your bloodstream to power up your whole body. It's a huge job absorbing all those nutrients, and the small intestine has a support team to help it out. These are called accessory organs. Food doesn't actually pass through them, but they make and send in critical juices to help finish the job. So, let's meet the team. First up, you have the liver. It makes a special juice called bile, which is absolutely essential for breaking down fats. That bile is then stored in the gallbladder, which is like a little storage pouch. And then there's the pancreas, which is an enzyme-making machine. It creates juices to finish digesting proteins, fats, and carbs. They all squirt their special juices into the small intestine to help out. Okay, after the small intestine has sucked up all the useful nutrients, what's left over moves into the final major organ of the journey, the large intestine. By now, the mixture is mostly indigestible stuff like fiber, old cells, and a ton of water. So, the main job of the large intestine is to be a water recycling plant. It sucks out most of that remaining water and sends it back into the body where it's needed. This process turns the liquid leftovers into a solid, which we all know as, well, poop. And here's a super cool fact for you. The large intestine is home to trillions of helpful bacteria. They actually live in there. They munch on the leftovers that our body couldn't break down. And as a little thank you, they produce some essential vitamins for us, like vitamin K. So there you have it. An incredible, highly organized factory that takes a sandwich and turns it into life-sustaining fuel. It's pretty amazing, right? Let's do a quick fly-through just to recap the whole thing. Okay, let's go. It enters the mouth for mashing and a saliva bath. It's squeezed down the esophagus by those muscle waves. The stomach churns it with acid into that chyme paste. The small intestine, with its helpers, absorbs all the nutrients. The large intestine reclaims the water and forms the waste. And finally, the exit. The journey is over. It's just such an amazing process. Every single bite of food you take goes on this wild, complex adventure, all to give your body the building blocks and the energy it needs to work, to grow, and just to be you. So, knowing about this incredible journey your food takes and seeing how hard your body works to get all the good stuff out of it, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What kind of fuel are you going to choose for your amazing personal fuel factory today?